host the League's Cup final, and here is Alex Zoltan.
Welcome back, football fans, and let me ask you this. What happens when a team of global superstars led by Lionel Messi walks into a stadium expecting another chapter of dominance, only to be silenced, dismantled, and sent home in disbelief? That's exactly what unfolded in Seattle. It wasn't just a win, it wasn't just an upset, it was a statement. In front of nearly 70,000 roaring fans at Lumen Field, the Seattle Sounders didn't just edge out into Miami, they shut them down. 3-0. Messi contained, Suarez frustrated, Busquets overrun. But here's the real question. How did Seattle pull this off? How did a team built on structure and belief outplay some of the greatest names football has ever seen? Because the truth is, this wasn't luck. This was design, this was discipline, and this was a night that could redefine how Major League Soccer sees itself against its biggest imports. Stay with me, because what really happened on that pitch is bigger than the scoreline. And the way Seattle dismantled Miami, it might just change the conversation about Messi's American chapter forever. Seattle Sounders versus Inter Miami wasn't just another final, it was the clash everyone circled the moment Messi arrived in America. On one side, the stars, Messi, Suarez, Busquets. On the other, a squad built on cohesion, discipline, and the city's relentless energy. 90 minutes later, the script flipped. Seattle lifted the trophy, Miami walked away stunned, and fans witnessed a football lesson written in green. Stay with us as we dive into the heart of this battle, because this wasn't just a game, it was a collision of stories. Picture it, Lumen Field, nearly 70,000 fans packed shoulder to shoulder, the sound of drums and chants echoing through Seattle's night. The banners were raised, the lights dimmed, and all eyes turned toward one man, Lionel Messi. The Argentine legend, who has conquered Europe, lifted the World Cup, and transformed Inter Miami into global news, stood at the center circle, ready to write another chapter. But across from him stood a team with no fear. Seattle, a club forged in the grind of MLS battles, wasn't just here to participate. They'd been waiting for this stage, to prove that tactics, chemistry, and belief can topple even the brightest constellation of stars. The atmosphere carried tension you could feel through the screen. Was this going to be another Messi masterclass, a highlight reel for the pink shirts of Miami? Or was Seattle about to remind the football world that sometimes it's the team, not the individual, that dictates destiny? That's the stage, that's the weight, and that's why this story matters, because every great clash has roots. And to understand why this 3-0 victory stunned so many, you have to rewind the stories behind both teams. Seattle Sounders aren't strangers to pressure. They've been a powerhouse in MLS for over a decade, winning titles, filling stadiums, and building a culture that feels more European than American. But here's the thing, their strength has never been about one superstar. No Messi, no Suarez, no global icons plastered on billboards. Seattle's story is different, built on youth development, smart coaching, and a squad that values the badge more than the headlines. Quiet hunger, relentless identity. And this identity wasn't forged overnight. It came from years of grinding out results in rain-soaked fixtures, of lifting trophies in front of passionate supporters, of building a culture where the collective mattered more than the individual. Seattle's heartbeat comes from its fans, its city, and its refusal to be intimidated by the bright lights. Now, contrast that with Miami, a club transformed the moment Messi landed on US soil. Overnight, stadiums sold out, jerseys flew off shelves. Every game became a global event, covered not just by sports outlets, but by mainstream media around the world. Add Suarez, Busquets, and Alba into the mix, and suddenly this wasn't just a team, it was a traveling circus of legends, a reunion of Barcelona's golden era, a magnet for headlines. And yet, beneath the glamour, questions lingered. Could Miami's collection of stars grind out results against well-drilled opponents? Could Messi's magic alone carry them through nights when tactics mattered more than celebrity? Could Busquets, at his age, dominate a midfield against hungry, relentless legs? Those questions hung in the air as the match kicked off. And within 90 minutes, Seattle delivered the answer. This wasn't just a win, it was the triumph of structure over stardom, preparation over pedigree, unity over reputation. And as the Sounders celebrated beneath a storm of confetti, one thought echoed louder than the chants. Maybe, just maybe, MLS isn't Messi's playground after all. Now, flip to the other side. Inter Miami is the complete opposite. The moment Messi signed, the club transformed overnight. Crowds swelled, cameras followed, and tickets sold out months in advance. Before Messi, Miami was a struggling expansion team with empty seats and modest expectations. After Messi, they were the epicenter of global football headlines. Add in Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba, and suddenly Miami looked less like an MLS club and more like Barcelona, reborn in pink. Their rise wasn't quiet, it was thunderous. Every game became a spectacle. Every touch from Messi, a clip for social media. Every goal, a viral moment that ricocheted across the world. Miami became more than a football team. They became a brand, a movement, a symbol of how star power could reshape a league. And that's what made this final so gripping. It wasn't just about lifting silverware, it was two philosophies colliding head-on. Seattle's discipline and collective fire versus Miami's glittering star power, an underdog mentality against a juggernaut brand, local grit against global celebrity. So when the whistle blew that night, it wasn't just football, it was legacy versus hype, tradition versus headlines, and only one of them was walking away as champions. From the opening whistle, you could feel it. This wasn't going to be Miami's usual highlight reel. The pink shirts pressed forward, Messi floated between the lines, and Suarez looked hungry. The early movement suggested Miami wanted to overwhelm Seattle with flair and quick combinations. But Seattle didn't flinch. They set the tone with sharp tackles, compact defensive lines, and quick, purposeful transitions that made Miami look uncomfortable. Then came the 26th minute. Seattle earned space on the flank. The cross whipped in, and there was Ozazi de Rosario, rising higher than Miami's defenders, powering a header into the net. The stadium erupted, 1-0 Seattle. And here's the curious part, that single goal didn't just put Miami behind, it rattled them. You could see it in the body language, the frustration, the disbelief. How could this disciplined but less glamorous side carve them open so easily? This wasn't in Miami's script. They were supposed to dictate the night, not chase it. Messi tried to respond. He dropped deep, searching for space, weaving through the midfield, looking for that trademark moment of magic. But every time he touched the ball, a wall of green closed around him. Two defenders, sometimes three, cutting off his angles, denying him time. Even when he found a yard of space, the passing lanes he usually exploits were gone, sealed by Seattle's relentless organization. And as the half wore on, something shifted. The more Miami pushed, the more Seattle absorbed and countered. Every tackle drew cheers, every clearance felt like a statement, every defensive stand fed into a larger story. Miami's frustration was building, while Seattle's confidence grew. The question hanging in the air was simple. Had Seattle just figured out the blueprint to silence the greatest player of all time? By halftime, it wasn't just 1-0 on the scoreboard, it was a psychological battle, and Seattle was already winning it. The Sounders weren't celebrating wildly. They were composed, almost calm, as if they knew this plan was working. Miami, on the other hand, walked into the tunnel, shaking their heads, searching for answers. If you only looked at the scoreline, you'd think Seattle simply outscored Inter Miami. But the truth? This match was won in the details, in the tactical blueprint that head coach Brian Schmetzer and his players executed to perfection. Here's the first piece, structure. Seattle set up in a disciplined, compact block. No reckless pressing, no chasing shadows. Instead, they closed the center, Messi's playground. Whenever he drifted into those dangerous pockets between midfield and defense, the Sounders swarmed. One man pressed, another cut off the passing lane, and the third hovered close enough to kill the escape route. It wasn't marking Messi out of the game. It was suffocating the very space he thrives on. That structure didn't just keep Messi quiet, it kept the rest of Miami predictable. Without their talisman dictating play, the pink shirts were forced to funnel the ball wide, rely on hopeful crosses, and take low percentage shots. For a team built on fluidity and connection, that was like cutting off their oxygen. And for Seattle, it was the opening chapter of a masterclass. Second piece, calculated pressure. Seattle didn't waste energy pressing high for 90 minutes. They weren't reckless. They were patient, measured, almost surgical. Instead of chasing Miami all over the field, they picked their moments like a hunter waiting for the right opening. When Miami tried to build through Busquets, Seattle's midfield rotated like clockwork. Obed Vargas cut off the forward pass. João Paulo tracked the late runners. Christian Roldan shadowed the half spaces, and the fullbacks pinched inside at just the right moment to shrink Messi's options. The result? Miami's usual rhythm broke down. Instead of quick triangles and central penetration, they were forced sideways. Instead of Messi receiving between the lines, he found himself drifting wider and wider, further from danger. Crosses floated into the box, easily cleared. Momentum slipped through their fingers little by little, and here's where it got really clever. Seattle trusted their backline. Yeimar, Gomez Andrade, and Jackson Ragan weren't intimidated by the names in pink. They stayed tight, front-footed, unafraid to duel with Suarez. They won aerial battles. They cut out low crosses. They refused to let Suarez pin them back and create that half yard of space Messi thrives on. Every time Miami looked for that familiar connection, Messi dropping, turning, slipping Suarez in behind, Seattle's defenders snapped the link shut. Clean, efficient, ruthless. The beauty of it? Seattle didn't just stop Messi, they forced Miami to play a style that didn't suit them. Long balls, rushed decisions. A team built on elegance suddenly looked frantic, and that's why by the 60th minute, Messi wasn't dictating the game, he was chasing it. For the first time in months, Miami's star looked mortal. So here's the question. Was this the night Seattle gave the rest of MLS a defensive roadmap for neutralizing the greatest player in the world? Because every final has its knife-edge moments, the split seconds where the match could tilt either way. And in Seattle's 3-0 win, those moments told the entire story. The first came not long after De Rosario's opener. Messi, finally finding a pocket of space, slipped between two defenders and latched onto a perfect through ball. For a heartbeat, the stadium froze. This was it, the equalizer, the spark that could flip the game. Messi steadied himself, the net gaping. He had scored from this angle hundreds of times in Barcelona blue, in Argentina's white and sky blue. But this time, his shot skimmed past the post. A collective gasp, then an eruption from the Seattle fans, louder than the miss itself. Chance gone, belief growing. Then came the penalty that shifted everything. Late in the second half, Miami pushed numbers forward, desperate for a lifeline, but in their urgency, they left themselves exposed. One turnover, one rapid counter, and Seattle stormed down the flank. The chaos forced a handball in the box. Up stepped Alex Roldan in the 84th minute, calm, composed. He stared down Miami's keeper, the noise of 70,000 shaking the stadium. A deep breath, one strike, net bulging, 2-0 Seattle. And with that goal, the match tilted heavily. You could see it in Miami's shoulders, slumped. In their expressions, tight jaws, shaken confidence, the frustration boiled over. And yet, the dagger was still to come. Just minutes later, Paul Rothrock, the hometown kid, wrote himself into club folklore. A loose ball, a split-second chance, and he buried it. 3-0, the stadium exploded into chaos. Fans leaping, scarves waving, the noise deafening. Game over. But let's be honest, this wasn't just about the goals that went in. It was about the moments Miami didn't take. Messi's near miss, Suarez's header blocked at the last second. Busquets, normally the calm metronome, misplacing passes under pressure. Those moments piled up like bricks on Miami's back, and by the time the final whistle blew, the scoreline wasn't cruel. It wasn't exaggerated, it was fair, a reflection of discipline beating reputation. So here's the riddle that lingers. Was this simply an off night for Miami's legends, the aging reality catching up to them? Or was Seattle's relentless discipline, their tactical suffocation, the real reason those moments slipped away? Because that's the question everyone outside the stadium is asking. And the answer might shape how every team in MLS prepares to face Messi from here on. The final whistle should have been the end of the story. Seattle lifting the trophy, fans celebrating, Miami regrouping for another day. But instead, chaos broke out. As players shook hands and emotions boiled over, the night took a darker turn. What should have been a straightforward celebration turned into something more chaotic. Near the sideline, tension snapped. Cameras caught Luis Suarez, furious, frustrated, and visibly boiling, at the center of it all. There were shoves exchanged, heated words flung across the line, and then came the allegation that sent shockwaves through the football world. Claims emerged that Suarez spit toward a member of Seattle's staff. Within minutes, the footage spread like wildfire. Clips were replayed in slow motion, dissected frame by frame across TV studios and social media feeds. Was it intentional? Was it simply the heat of the moment? Fans and pundits argued, voices split down the middle. What's undeniable is the fallout. A final that should have been remembered purely for Seattle's brilliance is now also stamped with controversy. Miami's frustration didn't stay contained to the scoreline. It boiled over, spilling into behavior that left a bitter taste, and it sparked a bigger conversation. Was this just passion spilling out under the spotlight of a crushing defeat, or was it a symptom of something deeper unraveling inside this star-studded squad? Think about it. Messi, the usually unshakable leader, was silent. Busquets, the master controller, was bypassed. Suarez, the warrior striker, was boiling over. When your three biggest leaders lose their influence, one muted, one overrun, and one losing control, what message does that send to the rest of the team? Was this clash simply the emotional eruption of champions hating to lose? Or did Seattle not only expose Miami's tactical weaknesses, but also cracks in their character? For Seattle, the chaos almost amplified their victory. Not only did they dominate with footballing brilliance, but they also held their composure when Miami lost theirs. To many fans, that composure was the ultimate stamp of authority. It said, not only can we beat you, we can outclass you when the spotlight burns hottest. When the dust finally settled, the scoreboard read 3-0, but the meaning stretched far beyond the numbers. For Seattle, this was validation. A club that had already written proud chapters in MLS history, league titles, a CONCACAF crown, just added another jewel to the crown, and they did it not by bending to the spectacle of Messi, but by doubling down on who they are. This wasn't just a win, it was a declaration, a message to every fan, pundit, and critic. Seattle isn't chasing relevance, they are relevance. They don't need Messi's stardom to shine, they create their own spotlight. For Inter Miami, the loss cut far deeper than just missing a trophy. All season long, the narrative was that star power could tilt the balance, that Messi's presence alone could transform MLS into his personal playground. But here's the truth, the final revealed with brutal clarity. Football is still, and always will be, a team's game. Superstars can elevate, superstars can inspire, but without structure, discipline, and unity, even the brightest lights eventually flicker. And then there's the wider impact. Beyond Miami, beyond Seattle, nearly 70,000 fans packed into Lumen Field, their chants shaking the night sky, their banners filling the stadium with color and pride. It proved something powerful. American soccer isn't just about celebrity, it's about community, identity, and belief. For the kids in Seattle, standing in the stands, watching their hometown hero Paul Rothrock score the final dagger, this wasn't just entertainment, it was inspiration. Proof that dreams born in local fields can grow into goals on the biggest stage. So what's the legacy of this night? It's more than a scoreline, it's a turning point, a line in the sand. The night when MLS reminded the world that it isn't just a retirement league for fading legends, it's a battleground. A place where discipline, unity, and courage can topple even the most decorated icons. And here's the question echoing long after the confetti fell, long after the trophy was hoisted high. Was this just one unforgettable night, or the beginning of a new balance of power in American football? It started with anticipation, it ended with shock. And somewhere in between, the Seattle Sounders delivered one of the most commanding, unflinching statements Major League Soccer has ever seen. 3 goals. Messi silenced. Miami's stars left searching for answers, and the city in green lifting the trophy in front of nearly 70,000 faithful fans. What this night proved is simple. Football doesn't bow to reputation, it bows to preparation, belief, and execution. Seattle showed that you don't need the world's biggest names to write history. You just need a team willing to fight for every blade of grass. But here's the question that lingers long after the confetti fell. Was this the Sounders' masterpiece or Miami's great collapse? And more importantly, what does it mean for the rest of Messi's journey in America? That's where I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was this the best tactical performance we've seen from an MLS side, or the night Miami was finally exposed? If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and share this video with the football fans in your life. Because nights like these, they remind us why we love this game.